Welcome back to the Information Channel. Young love. One of the most timeless examples, the love of Romeo and Juliet, blossomed at one of the greatest expressions of wealth in the 15th century, the party. Today, we'll take a look at what some of those parties were like. Shall we begin? Simply put, parties thrown by wealthy people were extravagant. People wanted to celebrate. They were in a prosperous time of cultural rebirth and wanted to forget the dour times of the Middle Ages. Families tried to outdo each other in hosting grandiose parties to celebrate courtships, marriages, religious holidays, and many other events. The fashion, social customs, dance, music, and food presented at a party all contributed to the lavish atmosphere.
The nobles of 15th century Italy were expected to show off their wealth whenever possible. As a result, a great amount of money was spent keeping up with current fashions and purchasing luxurious materials like furs and imported textiles. Jeweled accessories and metallic thread were commonplace among the wealthy. As new tailoring techniques were established, the styles of the 14th century were replaced by clothes that emphasized the figure. Men wore a close-fitting doublet and jerkin with stockings. Women wore fairly close-fitting ankle-length dresses with a décolletage. At some ceremonial occasions, both men and women might wear a houppelande, an outer garment with a full body and large flaring sleeves. The edges of the garment were often dagged or cut into decorative patterns. The more elaborate the clothes, the richer the owner, was the fashion mindset of the 15th century. During the 14th and 15th centuries, manners and customs in Italy became solidified, and books on etiquette were written primarily for the lower class to teach them how to appear beneath the wealthy. Said wealthy often engaged in card playing at parties, a common yet imprudent pastime. Gambling was involved frequently and led to the financial ruin of many formerly wealthy people in spite of edicts against it from the Pope and the state. At these parties, the nobility would also dance, as will soon be demonstrated. People of the opposite genders would dance together, but those of the same gender could be partners without anything being thought of it. While waiting to dance, people would have conversations, which tended to be sharp and witty, sometimes biting. They would talk with other guests about all sorts of things, doing their best to display their knowledge of literature or current events.
As previously discussed, garments worn by wealthy people, which consisted of tight corsets and laces, restricted head and upper body movement. For this reason, dances at the time period focused mainly on steps, hops, and jumps. There were two main types of social dances: those which required little to no practice, which would be performed by multiple people in lines or circles, and more difficult dances, choreographed for a duet or small group, which would be danced for the rest of the partygoers. Dances were performed to live music, which was often played by instrumental ensembles that consisted of lutes, organs, cornets, and/or stringed keyboards. We will now take a look at an example of a dance performed to authentic music that would have been played at a 15th century Renaissance party.
I will be performing as the male dancer.
And I will be performing as the female dancer.
The piece of music you just heard was from the Codex Firenze, a manuscript from around the year 1420, which contains most of the keyboard music from the 15th century that has been preserved today. In the 1400s, polyphonic music, or music with many simultaneous melodies, was increasing in popularity. Franco-Flemish composers from across Europe would compose instrumental and vocal pieces that would often be used in churches and chapels as songs of prayer. In contrast to the horizontal style of concurrent tunes, as eloquently put by the Metropolitan Museum of Art, quote, Harmony based on a vertical arrangement of intervals, including thirds and sixths, was explored for its full textures and suitability for accompanying a vocal line. The music of Joasquin-des-Prés epitomized these trends, with Northern-style intricate polyphony using canons, pre-existing melodies, and other compositional structures smoothly amalgamated with the Italian bent for artfully setting words with melodies that highlight the poetry rather than masking it with complexity, end quote. That is to say, new chords were discovered in the early Italian Renaissance, and a combination of music and poetry was brought to light, creating multi-part songs that highlighted the beauty of the song's language. This style spread across Europe, creating what many consider to be the first international music trend. Food, a staple in life since the beginning of time. From a survival necessity to a display of wealth, food has been on the floor in shacks and on grand tables during fancy banquets. In the 15th century, meals were primarily served in banquets. There were often more than 7 courses, each course being announced through trumpet blasts. After each course, the tablecloths would be removed and a bowl of water would be produced for the guests to wash their hands. The food itself was quite different from the food from previous centuries. Sugar began being used for sweetness and not just as a spice, and fish was also becoming more popular. Let's now go to our chef to show you one of the many elegant dishes of Romeo and Juliet's time.
Hi, I'm Chef Leah, and welcome to Cooking Through Time. Today we will be preparing a 15th century Italian dish called zabaglione. The ingredients for this dish are 4 egg yolks, sugar, cinnamon, a sweet dessert wine, and butter. First, pour all 4 egg yolks into the pot. Then add the cinnamon. Next, add the sugar. Stir the 3 ingredients together. Measure a 3/4 cup of wine. Pour the wine into the pot, being sure to continue whisking. Turn the stovetop on high heat and continue stirring. Stir until it thickens. Pour into a small bowl and top with butter. Eat plain or dip in fruit. Enjoy!
Thank you for watching the Information Channel. Tune in next week as we discuss the Statue of Liberty.